The pandemic-era boom of fake riches has taken a turn as Americans are starting to face financial difficulties. Between 2020 and 2021, Rolex prices surged, luxury car prices reached record highs, and art prices skyrocketed uncontrollably. However, it now appears that this boom is beginning to unravel. In 2020 and 2021, not only were Rolex prices soaring, but even obtaining a Rolex became a challenge, even if you were willing to pay thousands of dollars above the asking price. The waitlist for a Rolex was incredibly long, and this surging demand naturally drove up Rolex prices. Between 2020 and 2022, the price of Rolex watches reached unprecedented heights, as shown in the chart from watchcharts.com. However, since then, Rolex prices have been on a downward trend. Why are Rolex prices falling so rapidly now? People who purchased these watches a couple of years ago, even at $35,000, may now be struggling to cover their bills. Consequently, many have resorted to selling their Rolex watches, flooding the market and causing prices to plummet. Luxury cars were also highly sought-after commodities in 2020 and 2021. Notably, people were willing to pay substantial premiums, tens of thousands of dollars, for models like the G-Wagon or Lamborghini due to the influx of easy money during that period. Dealerships had such high order backlogs that they ran out of inventory until 2024. However, the resale value of luxury cars like G-Wagons and others is now declining. Even Ford Raptors, which were previously hard to obtain, are currently being sold below their Carfax values. Art also experienced a surge in prices in 2020 and 2021, with many considering it a safe place to store newfound wealth. However, art prices are now returning to more realistic levels as art investors re-evaluate their holdings. The key question here is what's causing these economic shifts. The chart depicting Rolex prices indicates a significant shift in March 2022. This change coincided with the end of the era of free and easy money, as the Federal Reserve Bank began raising interest rates for the first time in years. The economy had been flooded with government spending, grants, and stimulus, resulting in a spending spree. However, by 2022, inflation became a concern, prompting the Federal Reserve Bank to combat it by increasing interest rates. This effectively reduced the supply of easy money and slowed down spending. People now find themselves facing rising costs in housing, groceries, and other expenses, which has compelled some to sell their high-end possessions to maintain their lifestyles. In summary, this shift in the economy reflects a transition from unrestrained spending to a more cautious approach, driven by increasing interest rates and rising costs. People are now seeking ways to protect their finances and make wiser financial decisions, which may not be favorable for the broader economy that thrives on consumer spending. To build wealth, it's crucial to understand how to manage money wisely and make informed financial choices, rather than merely indulging in conspicuous consumption. In conclusion, the pandemic era witnessed an unprecedented surge in the ostentatious display of affluence among Americans. This period saw Rolex prices soar, luxury car demand reach astonishing heights, and art markets setting new records at an astonishing pace. However, this economic frenzy is now undergoing a dramatic reversal, with various factors coming into play. Rolex watches, once symbols of luxury, became not only extravagantly expensive, but also incredibly scarce. Even those willing to pay substantial premiums faced lengthy waiting lists, driving up prices substantially between 2020 and 2022. Yet, Rolex prices have since experienced a sharp decline, prompting many to question the reasons behind this rapid plummet. Luxury cars, particularly G-Wagons, Lamborghinis, and Ford Raptors, were highly sought after during 2020 and 2021, with buyers willing to pay hefty premiums. Dealerships were overwhelmed with orders, leading to extended wait times for these coveted vehicles. However, the resale value of these cars, along with others, is currently on the decline. Even Ford Raptors, once elusive, are now selling below their listed values. The art market too witnessed an extraordinary surge in prices, attracting individuals seeking to safeguard their wealth. Nonetheless, art prices are gradually returning to more realistic levels as investors reconsider their positions. The pivotal question is what has catalyzed these economic shifts. The Rolex price chart reveals a significant turning point in March 2022, coinciding with the conclusion of the era of easily accessible money. The Federal Reserve Bank initiated interest rate hikes, responding to mounting concerns about inflation. An influx of government spending, grants, and stimulus had fueled a spending spree, ultimately contributing to the economic boom. However, by 2022, inflation had emerged as a substantial concern, prompting the Federal Reserve Bank to combat it by raising interest rates. This, in turn, curtailed the flow of easily accessible money, causing a slowdown in consumer spending. Rising living expenses, including housing, groceries, and other necessities, have compelled some to part with their high-value assets to sustain their lifestyles. In essence, the current economic landscape reflects a shift from unchecked spending to a more cautious approach, driven by increasing interest rates and rising living costs. People are now focused on safeguarding their financial stability and making informed financial decisions, potentially challenging an economy heavily reliant on consumer spending. To achieve true financial prosperity, understanding how to manage money wisely and make prudent financial choices is paramount, transcending the allure of conspicuous consumption. And there you have it, folks. We hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it. If you found it informative, entertaining, or simply had a good time, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Your support means the world to us, and it motivates us to keep creating more content like this in the future. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update from us. Feel free to leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, take care and stay awesome.